The lights of Station Aurealis 9 flickered softly above the metallic corridors. The station floated near the edge of the Andromeda expanse, far away from any human colony. It was a place of science, quiet, cold, and full of alien minds studying the universe's mysteries. Inside one of the sealed laboratories, a single human, Lieutenant Ethan Ward, sat on a diagnostic table. His chest rose and fell slowly. Around him, 3 tall figures in silver suits took notes using bright blue holographic panels. They were Valari, an ancient alien species known for their logic, precision, and complete lack of emotion. But one of them was different. Her name was Dr. Asha Valira. She was curious, even by Valari standards. Her species saw curiosity as a tool, but for Asha, it was something deeper, almost emotional, though her kind claimed to be above such things. Ethan watched as she moved closer, her white eyes glowing faintly under the lab lights. "You said humans are emotional creatures," she said, her voice calm but filled with fascination. "Yet your reactions seem unpredictable. I wish to understand why." Ethan smiled slightly. "That's a big question," he said, keeping his tone light. "Sometimes I don't even understand myself." Asha tilted her head. "That is illogical. You inhabit your own body. You should understand it better than anyone." Ethan chuckled. "Yeah, well, humans aren't built on logic alone." She didn't reply immediately. Instead, she reached out with a small scanning device, running it near his arm. "Your heart rate rises when you speak," she observed. "Even when you're calm. Why does it do that?" The question hung in the air. Ethan thought for a moment. "Maybe because I'm being watched," he said, half joking. Asha looked directly at him. "Is it discomfort? Or awareness of being observed by a different species?" He shrugged. "Could be both. Or maybe just nerves." Asha's brow furrowed slightly. Valari didn't have nerves the way humans did. They communicated through calm precision and data, not feelings. Yet as she studied Ethan's face, she noticed tiny movements, the twitch of his eyes, the slight curve of his lips. These micro-expressions told her things her instruments couldn't. Something about this human was more complex than any biological chart. Hours passed as she ran tests, heart rate, reflexes, brainwave patterns. Each result confused her more. "You react strongly to stimuli that are not dangerous," she said. "For example, when I mentioned your home planet, your heart rate increased." "There was no threat. Why?" Ethan looked at her, then sighed softly. "Because it matters to me. Because it's home." "Home." Asha repeated, the word sounding strange in her mouth. "A location that evokes attachment." "Exactly," Ethan said. "It's not just a place. It's people, memories, feelings." Asha paused. Valari memories were stored digitally. Their minds could recall facts perfectly, but they did not feel nostalgia. The idea that a place could change your heartbeat made no sense. Yet watching Ethan, she realized it was real. She leaned closer. "Your biology reacts to emotions. You claim emotions are not logical, yet your body obeys them. That is contradictory." "Yeah," Ethan said with a grin. "Welcome to being human." Later, when the other Valari left the lab, Asha remained behind. She continued her study, but something was different. The air felt heavy, not with fear or danger, but with curiosity. "Tell me, Lieutenant Ward," she said softly. "When you dream, are those real?" Ethan blinked. "Dreams? No, they're kind of like stories our brain tells when we sleep. But your body responds to them as though they were real," she noted, showing him data of his sleeping pulse rates. "You experience distress during a dream of falling. Why would your body react to something imaginary?" He thought about it. "Because the mind can't always tell the difference. What we imagine can still feel real." Asha seemed unsettled by that idea. Her kind lived by clarity, and the idea of something unreal affecting the body was difficult to accept. She looked at him again, this time not as a specimen but as something puzzling, almost beautiful in its imperfection. "You are a contradiction," she said finally. "Thanks," Ethan replied with a smile. "I get that a lot." As the days passed, Asha's study grew less about the data and more about understanding Ethan as a being. She watched how he laughed at small things, how he became quiet when he missed Earth, and how his tone changed when he spoke about his crew. Every reaction was layered with meaning she couldn't measure. She tried to replicate some of them in herself, mimicking laughter or frowning when confused, but it felt empty. Valari expressions had no emotional link. Still, she persisted, as if she wanted to bridge a gap between logic and something deeper. One evening, while Ethan rested, Asha sat nearby, reviewing the data. "Your body wastes energy and emotions," she said aloud, almost to herself. "And yet, they seem to give you strength." Ethan opened one eye. "That's one way to put it. Do you not wish to eliminate them? To be more efficient?" He smiled faintly. "If we did that, we wouldn't be human anymore." She turned toward him, puzzled. "So you value imperfection?" "Yeah," he said. "Because that's where life happens, between the perfect and the broken." For a moment, the room was silent except for the hum of machines. Asha's gaze softened. She looked at Ethan's hand, the way it moved slightly even when resting. The warmth of living tissue, the pulse beneath the skin. She reached out almost without thinking and placed the scanner on his wrist again. She could read his pulse perfectly, but she didn't need the device. She could feel it, unsteady, warm, alive. Her voice lowered to a whisper. "Why does it do that?" Ethan looked up. "What?" "Your heart," she said, her tone almost fragile. "It beats faster when you speak of things you love, slower when you are calm. It responds to thoughts, not just actions. It listens to your emotions." He smiled gently. "Because that's what it means to live, Doctor." Asha said nothing. For the first time in her life, she felt something unmeasurable. A quiet ache in her chest, a strange warmth spreading through her. It wasn't fear or logic, it was something else. She touched her own chest, confused. "Why does mine do that?" she whispered. Ethan sat up slowly, watching her with surprise. "Maybe," he said softly. "You're starting to understand." Outside, the stars of Andromeda shimmered across the blackness of space. Inside the lab, two beings, one born of logic, one born of chaos, sat in silence, each learning what it meant to be alive. Asha's scanners flickered with unreadable data. Her systems couldn't classify what she felt, but she knew one thing with certainty. The human before her had changed something within her that no experiment ever could. And for the first time in her long, calculated life, she wanted to know why. The next morning, Station Oriolis 9 buzzed with unusual activity. Word had spread across the Valari scientists. Dr. Asha Valira had spent too much time with the human subject and was showing signs of emotional contamination. For the Valari, that was a serious accusation. Inside the observation lab, Ethan Ward sat quietly, hands folded. The glass walls shimmered with the cold light of distant stars. He could see Asha through the transparent divider, standing before a council of her peers. Their tall, silver-robed figures surrounded her, faces hidden behind holographic visors. The Council of Analysis demanded answers. "You have deviated from the standard research timeline," said one of them. "Your reports are inconsistent. You describe feelings, a concept unfit for data. Explain." Asha stood straight, though her tone was calm. "The human physiology cannot be fully understood through data alone. Their biology responds to emotion, memory, and connection. To separate these is to misunderstand their nature." "Emotion is chaos," another voice replied sharply. "It leads to error. And yet," Asha said softly, "that chaos creates resilience. It gives them strength beyond prediction." The room went silent. Valari minds did not tolerate the idea that chaos could be useful. From the other side of the glass, Ethan could feel tension rising. He wanted to step in, but he knew better than to interfere. Still, he caught Asha's eyes for a brief second. She didn't look afraid. She looked certain. When the council left, the lab felt cold again. Asha returned, her face calm but her steps slow. Ethan broke the silence. "That didn't sound like a friendly meeting." "They believe I am compromised," she said, placing her tools on the table. "They think I have absorbed your instability." He smiled faintly. "Instability is kind of what makes us human." Asha's lips curved in something that almost resembled a smile. "I thought so." She sat down across from him, folding her long fingers together. "Tell me something, Ethan. Why do humans fight for things that cause them pain? You said your people struggle even when logic says to stop." Ethan leaned back. "Because sometimes what hurts us also shapes us. We fight because we care." "Care," she repeated, trying to understand. "It has no measurement, yet it changes everything." He nodded. "Exactly." She looked at him for a long moment. "I think I felt it," she said quietly. "When I saw the council disapprove, I felt something heavy here. She touched her chest. I did not want them to remove you from my study. Ethan blinked. You mean, you didn't want to lose me? Her glowing eyes softened. Yes, that is the closest definition I can find. Over the next few days, the council restricted her access to human research, but she ignored most of the limits. Late at night, when the other Valari entered data sleep, she returned to the lab. Ethan helped her run tests, but soon the sessions became conversations. They talked about Earth's oceans, its music, and its stories. He told her how humans once looked at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Asha listened closely. Your kind looked at the unknown and felt wonder, not fear. That is unusual. He grinned. That's us, curious troublemakers. You laugh at danger, she said. You even find humor in fear. How does that help? It keeps us from giving up, Ethan replied. Sometimes laughing at fear makes it smaller. She didn't fully understand, but she liked the sound of it. One night, alarms suddenly echoed through the station. Red lights flashed across the corridors. A mechanical voice declared, "Containment breach detected in Research Wing 3. Ethan jumped up. What's happening? Asha checked the console. An energy fluctuation. One of the containment cells is destabilizing. Is it dangerous? Yes, she said, her voice firm. Very. Without hesitation, she activated the lab's emergency shield and ran toward the malfunctioning chamber. Ethan followed, ignoring her protests. You shouldn't be here, she called. Too late, he shouted back. Inside the containment hall, sparks flew from a glowing pod. The alien sample inside, a crystalline organism, was pulsing violently. Energy waves spread across the walls, cracking the structure. Asha began entering shutdown commands, but the control screen burned out. System not responding, she said. Ethan grabbed a manual lever. Then we'll do it the human way. He forced the lever down, cutting off half the power. The explosion dimmed, but not fully. The energy shock hit him, throwing him backward. Ethan! Asha rushed to him, her voice trembling. Your readings, I'm fine, he coughed, trying to stand. Finish the shutdown! She hesitated, torn between her duty and her fear. For the first time, her logic failed her. All she could see was him lying there, hurt. Her hands shook. I can't. Ethan looked up at her. Asha, you can. Trust yourself. Something clicked inside her. She closed her eyes, took a breath, just like she had seen him do, and slammed her hand on the control node, using her own bioenergy to override the system. The lights flared, then dimmed. The containment chamber stabilized. Silence. Only the hum of the emergency systems remained. Later, in the med bay, Asha sat beside Ethan's bed. His injuries were minor, but she had refused to leave him. You risked yourself, she said quietly. Why? He smiled weakly. Because you were in danger. Isn't that reason enough? But that is not logical, she whispered. He looked at her. Neither is caring. But it's real, she fell silent. Then, to his surprise, she reached out and placed her hand over his. When you fell, something inside me changed, she said softly. I did not think, I only acted. That is what you call instinct, he nodded. Yeah, and it probably saved us both. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the soft light. Perhaps your chaos has value after all. A few days later, the council summoned Asha again. They had reviewed the logs of the incident. You endangered the station, said the senior elder. You used unauthorized methods, Asha stood tall. I prevented an explosion. My decision saved every life aboard, including yours, the elder frowned. At the cost of your objectivity. My objectivity helped me analyze, she replied. But it was emotion that made me act. Without it, I would have failed. The council fell silent. For the first time, none of them had an immediate response. That night, as the station orbited a glowing blue nebula, Asha and Ethan stood at the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them. Do you think they'll let you continue your work? Ethan asked. I do not know, she said, but if they remove me, I will still carry what I've learned. And what's that? She turned to him, her white eyes reflecting the stars. That logic explains the universe. But emotion gives it meaning, he smiled. Sounds like something a human would say. Perhaps, she said softly. Or perhaps it is something alive would say. They stood there quietly, watching the nebula shift and shimmer like a living thing. After a long pause, Asha spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. When I first studied you, I thought your emotions were flaws. Now I see they are the soul's language." Ethan looked at her. "You believe humans have a soul?" "I believe we all might," she replied. As the lights dimmed and the stars glowed brighter, Asha placed her hand on her chest again, the same place where she once felt that strange warmth. It pulsed softly, rhythmically. "Why does it do that?" she whispered once more. Ethan smiled. "Because you're alive, Asha. Truly alive." And in that moment, the logical being of the Valari understood something no equation could teach, that to live was not just to exist, but to feel.